This is Basic, the Atari 8-bit podcast.
I would have gone even without the money. In fact, I was shocked when MATH UFO made a couple $1,000s. I didn't think that it would do that.
This is Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. I'm Kevin Savitz. Gregor Novak is the author of two educational games which were published by Atari Program Exchange, MATH UFO and Ringmaster. MATH UFO first appeared in the fall 1982 APX catalog, where it won second prize in the education category. A mysterious spaceship floats to the top of the screen. Is it a Martian? No, it's a MATH UFO, flashing you number drills. MATH UFO is very competitive, 1 or 2 player educational game that turns math drills into a fast-moving arcade-style challenge. Ringmaster first appeared in the fall 1983 catalog, where it won second prize in the education category. Step right up to the circus. Watch the elephants and camels on parade as the music plays. Everyone's in a carnival spirit, especially one rambunctious monkey. Using your joystick controller, you're the ringmaster. You make sure he jumps successfully. He'll make it if he leaps onto the back of an elephant or camel numbered with a multiple of the number he started from at the bottom of the screen. Ringmaster was also released as Under the Big Top by Main Street Publishing. This interview took place on February 7th, 2016. Can you set me up with kind of the prehistory of how you got interested in computers and how you discovered the Atari computer?
Sure, I was interested. I'm a physics teacher, physics faculty.
Where?
And, well, I'm retired from Indiana, but I'm still now full-time with the Air Force Academy in Colorado. That's where you're talking to me today.
Okay.
And I was, before even the personal computers came in, I was on, a long time ago, on mainframes, doing education stuff. And when the Apple II came on, I was kind of looking at it, but then Atari came with a great game capability, so I bought one. And I was interested in, exploring the games, and I started with elementary school. So the two big things that you know about, one is MATH UFO, which was partially basic and partially assembly. And then the next one was Ringmaster, which is all in assembly. And Ringmaster came on just as Atari was actually dying. So I got an award. I was in San Francisco in 1984. And we were wined and dined, but I could see that they were dying.
How could you tell they were dying?
Because well, first of all, the people that I talked to, we had about 3 days of meetings, and then we had the award ceremony in St. Francis Hotel, and the staff, they were very depressed. And the guy in charge was really an idiot. I think they were all idiots, actually. This guy had no idea what computers could do. He came from some kind of a cosmetics outfit. And the interesting is that when I was going back, they picked us up in the limo. They took us in San Francisco Hotel. It was all, everything was paid. We went down to the wharf several times and, all that. But on the way to the airport, I still have the San Jose paper. That the headline was Apple unveils mystery computer. And I still have that paper because, I was reading it on the plane. And I said, okay, so we're shifting. They piddled along for a little while, and then they died. So I bought the first Mac, and I've been doing stuff ever since. My big contribution to computing for education is just-in-time teaching, which you may or may not know about.
I know what just-in-time is in a factory setting. I don't know what it is in a teaching setting.
Well, this we started that in '96, and it's a web-based assignment where students put something up just in time, just before class, and it has taken off in essentially all disciplines to some extent.
I'm sorry, how is that different from what students have been doing forever, which is putting off to doing the assignment to the last minute?
No, it's different in two ways. First of all, the assignments are very vague, and they're not graded for correctness in any way, and they are exploring what students already know about the subject. And in different areas, it takes different guises, but most of the people that adopted this use it to essentially soften the students, prepare them for the in-class assignment. We have since extended it to this. They went through about 3 NSF grants, and now we are doing a little bit more. They are looking at. They're looking at, before they ever do any theory, they look at an example as it would be done by an expert, and then they're asked to essentially dissect that example and comment on different steps and so on. So, okay. And we have our own server in Indiana, which is customized for this, even though now there are a lot of course management techniques that and software that can be used. But I have never, I've never stopped since my very first experience with the Atari computer. I was planning to go to physics eventually, but then they died. So that's basically the way it happened. I was not doing any coding until Atari came along. I was working with let's see, what was the big, out of Urbana, the big software for education, not Socrates. I don't remember the name anymore.
I don't know.
This was on Minis. And then when the personal computers came out, a lot of people started working on it, and well, you know where it went, all right? I mean, there's now a ton of stuff.
So let's see, which came first? MATH UFO came first. It was in the fall 1982 APX catalog. So why did you create it, and how did you submit it? How did it sell? Tell me the story about MATH UFO.
MATH UFO was, there were two motivations for it. One was I wanted to see if I can merge some kind of game to teaching. The first one that I think was actually successful was a not an alphabet, but a dictionary-like thing. So I thought maybe, but it wasn't animated. So I wrote the animation in assembly, and I wrote the code in BASIC, and I was trying it out on my son, who was in kindergarten. So the motivation was, first, let's see what I can do with this and what Atari thinks of it, and I could test it on my son. And that was successful, and then they did a couple other things which I don't even remember. And then I got more ambitious, so I copied Frogger. You've seen probably, or at least you've seen what the Ringmaster looks like, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a total ripoff of Frogger, because there are these lines of things that move, and you have to go from one line to another without crashing. And the Atari people liked it. I almost won the award. The award went to somebody else, but I got the education award. And when I went to pick it up in San Francisco in February of 1984, I didn't know that Atari was going down the tube. And I expected to talk to them and see if we could go more ambitious, maybe do some data collection. And you move into essentially college-level stuff. Mm-hmm. And they kind of pretended to be interested, but then the people the lower echelon people said, no, they're not going anywhere. They're going to close down. And they did. And it's too bad, because I think that the idea of having that engine, the game's engine built into it, was a great benefit.
What do you mean having the game's engine built into
They had a special chip. It was called player.
The player missile graphics?
Player missile graphics, mm-hmm. Right. There was, that's what made it, because my whole game was in 16K, which is unbelievable today, right? That you could do graphics and sound and scoring and everything in 16K. But the thing was that the chip was so good. I even now forget what the chip was called. You remember what the chip was called?
The graphics chip? Antic.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's what did it. And had they gone further, I think they could have made inroads into laboratory, and I don't know why. They had bad management, really. They had nobody near like Steve Jobs or anything. The people at the top, I remember the guy that was in charge. I don't forget his name. He was from either Revlon or one of those.
Oh, there was a guy from a tobacco company, and
yes,
he was a terrible fit.
Yes,
and
but they were all bad.
Well,
they were all bad because they didn't. I don't know. They were looking for money, I guess, because they really didn't have. I didn't expect passion, but I expected some feeling for the potential of this wonderful new stuff. And I remember that when we had the news people there that talked to us, there were three of us in that bunch. One got the award, and the other two sort of got the trip to Atari. They said, they asked him, they said, "Do you own one of these things?" And he said, "No, I don't do computers. I have a secretary." Which is,
right. The wrong answer.
I told him, you totally misunderstand what this is for. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never quit. When I came home, I picked up that paper from San Jose that said Mystery Computer. I didn't know they were building that. I called up and I talked to the Japanese guy that was the evangelist for Apple then. Starts with K.
Guy Kawasaki?
Right. Guy, yeah. And he got me one immediately.
Wow.
Then I made a mistake. I sold that one and I bought the 500K.
Mm-hmm. The Mac 512? Yeah.
512. Yeah. The first one I got was 128.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have kept that one.
Why?
It would be souvenir.
Oh, I see.
No, there's probably a ton of them and they're not worth anything. Or, it's not like Lisa or anything.
Right, but there's nothing like your first Mac.
But my last, I got about 2 Ataris a year from them, which I gave to schools. And the last one I got is still in the box, because when I came back, they sent me another one, and that one I didn't open because I knew that they were going away. And that one I think is worth some money.
Yeah, new in the box Atari, that's worth something. A couple bucks on eBay or something. So the ones they sent you, I assume, were prizes for your 2 games. Both won prizes where you could pick things out of the catalog and get a certain amount of a product of your choice. I assume that's what you mean when you say they sent you computers.
No, they sent me a computer every time, twice a year. Not as a prize.
Huh. Just as a present.
just right. Just as a, I think they did that to everybody. Well, Apple weird. was doing something like that too. When the operating system was coming out, they were sending out stuff all the time for free, and then eventually they charged developers something. But Atari never charged anything to developers. All the support you wanted, including computers, was all coming free.
Wow.
For 2 years, right? This was 1981, 82, 3 years.
Right.
And I never actually met anybody that was doing any kind of programming except when I had that trip to San Francisco. I was in Indianapolis then, and people were kind of buying Ataris and Apples. My dean was a computer science guy, and he thought it was a toy. He also didn't see the potential. I think I did see the potential. I could see what that could do for education.
Yeah.
And
so it sounds like you started on very on simple younger programs for educational programs for younger kids, and you had intended just to keep going up and more complicated.
I had plans to do some maybe simulations so that it would be preparatory for the live experiment. And I would include some data processing capability. VisiCalc was out then. So I was trying to, I was thinking about, okay, let's do a simulation, and then they would do a real lab, and they would collect data, and we would feed that into VisiCalc, and it would quickly display the outcomes, and we could ask what ifs. And I think we could have done all that with Atari. But, it didn't work, so we had to go to Apple.
Yeah. So I'm curious, I want to get back to, you said you went out to San Francisco and they were all idiots. And I'm curious, I'd like another.
I'm talking about the administrators.
Yeah, the
administrators. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they ended up there, but not one shared my vision of what that could do. I remember that they showed us. Well, they were going into the big gaming. They showed us the walk-in games that were commercial games.
The arcade games.
The arcade games. I think that's what they were focusing on. They did not see the potential for a desktop personal computer, not even in word processing. And they were very tight about things. One thing that I did a lot was break. I never gamed anything, but I bought all the games, and I went after copy protection, which was another exercise.
So you tried to break the copy protection?
Yeah, and I remember, a couple I was really proud of. One was Joust was one. The word processor was trivial. Then there was Mad Max, not Mad Max, something like that.
Blue Max?
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
That was harder. That was just a sideshow. But I was surprised that nobody actually. But Scully didn't either. I think at Apple, I don't think he saw the potential. Neither did the Frenchman who followed him.
Gasset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that surprised me that people were in charge of these things and they had no vision.
Yeah. Yep, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, we've come a long way. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
So did you make any money off these, at least in the royalties?
I may have made maybe $6,000 plus the trip.
Yeah. All right.
Which was
no good. Better than sticking out.
At that time, it was certainly an inducement to keep going. I would have gone even without the money. In fact, I was shocked when MATH UFO made a couple $1,000s. I didn't think that it would do that.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But it was reasonably popular. That was probably more popular than Ringmaster, because by the time Ringmaster came out, Atari was already going down. When MATH UFO came out, they were peaked.
Right. Yeah, it was relatively early. Ringmaster, I think, was in the penultimate catalog, and really wasn't. Yeah.
Right. There were some interesting people I met. I met Alan Kay, and I met. I'm losing the names now. The guy that wrote Eastern Front. Chris Crawford. Yeah, we were actually planning some education stuff. When I was there, he was just finishing up, just finished up Eastern Front, and which I thought was also an amazing thing for the size of the computer that he had to work with. Yeah, so that's where we're at.
Nice. And you met Alan Kay when you were in San Francisco for that?
I met Alan Kay when I was in San Francisco, and then I met him again at I gave a talk on just-in-time teaching in a computer-based education conference in Boulder, Colorado, and he showed up. And at that time, he was mostly talking about his organ. He built himself or do you know that?
No, I don't know that.
He built himself, he's a classic guitarist.
Okay.
And then he built himself in a house, in a separate room in a house, a traditional classical pipe organ.
Nice.
And that's what he was all excited about when we met in Boulder. It was all organ. Then he had something that, some kind of a programming language for kids that is online, and that didn't go anywhere. I tried that on my kids, and it was nice. It was, you could kind of write, you could write software. You could make a track and put a car on the track, and it would run on the track and stuff like that.
Squeak. It says Squeak was created by Alan Kay.
Okay, so
I've
it is.
never heard of it before. You're right. It didn't go anywhere.
Take a good look.
Okay.
Take a good look because it's very clever.
All right.
It's very clever. You can give it to a 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and they will understand that they create graphic. It's object oriented. That you create graphics objects that have properties, and you can link them together. And your imagination is the limit. I mean, the simplest thing is to make a racetrack and 2 cars and you race them, but then it goes beyond that.
Neat.
Yeah, take a look at that. That's quite good.
All right.
It's better than Ruby Rails, which is another one.
Right. Ruby and Rails is not for children.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But this is much more sophisticated and much more intelligent, in my opinion.
All right.
I mean, it does show Alan Kay's spirit.
All right. Are there any other Atari stories that I need to know that you haven't told me yet that we haven't discussed?
Not really. Not really. I was a lone wolf, I was by myself.
Yeah.
And the only time I interacted with anybody in person was in '84, February, when I was there for a week.
Cool. And you said now, what are you teaching now?
Physics.
Okay.
Actually, I'm for the last 5 years, I've been doing curriculum development with these new techniques.
Awesome. Nice.
If you Google just-in-time teaching, you'll find a lot about it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight.
Sure.
If you enjoyed these interviews and would like to contribute something, I encourage you instead to donate to one of our favorite organizations, the Internet Archive, at archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit digital library with the stated mission of universal access to all knowledge. They've done incredible things to preserve computer history, including hosting thousands of programs in an in-browser Atari emulator, creating the Wayback Machine, and offering full-page scans of countless Atari computer books and magazines. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate.